The JP poll is fresh off the printer. Week 10 edition is in my hand. That's a lie because it's handwritten, but it's in my hand here. We will make history tonight on the JP poll because not so much at the top, but when we get a little bit into this, there is a new entry, a new arrival, and I had to pull a special override lever to get them in. I think we all know who I'm talking about, but if you don't, stay tuned. We do have a new number one team. Georgia has reemerged as our number one team. They, however, are still 4 points off of their high water mark this year. If you want any more indication that there aren't elite teams out there right now, look no further than the JP poll. The JP poll is telling you, hey, your number one team right now is 4 points off their high water mark for this year. So like in a normal world, Georgia would be third or fourth because somebody would have ascended to the top. They haven't. So Georgia said, if no one else wants it, we'll take it. Oregon's number two. We would have Georgia minus 1.5 against Oregon, the model would, on a neutral field right now. Remember, the model does not always align with FanDuel. It usually does, but not always. Ohio State has fallen to 3. They are down from number 1, so they dropped 2 spots to number 3. Texas is number 4. I said Georgia is 4 points off their season high. Texas is 8 points off their season high. So the model is recalibrating on a lot of you out there. And Clemson is number 5. That's why Clemson, now you're going to disagree with this, and I think FanDuel probably would as well because they're not as high on Clemson. We've only got a 6 3/4 point gap between number 5 and number 1 right now, and it gets even better as we go along. Miami is number 6. As you know, we're going to have a lot of flawed teams really, really high up because of the way the sport looks this year. Notre Dame is number 7. I continue to think Notre Dame is a little overrated according to the model, but the model's been very consistent on Notre Dame. It bumped them up 4 spots, so it respected the heck out of what they just did against Navy. And, I mean, if Notre Dame played Penn State today, I think Penn State would be favored. I think Ole Miss would be favored against Notre Dame. The model would not agree with that. So take it up with the model, not me. As I said, Penn State 8, Ole Miss 9, still a very dangerous team. The AP's got them somewhere between 15 and 20. Model still thinks the Ole Miss is a top 10 team. Bama's number 10. They would be an 8-point dog against Georgia right now, according to the model. I can get that number from FanDuel. But about a little over a touchdown gap between the Alabama team that beat Georgia already this year. Yes, that's accurate. I looked it up. Tennessee is 11, A&M's 12, LSU's down to 13. They dropped 3 spots. I still think LSU has a higher ceiling as a team than several of these teams around them, including some of them ranked above them. Like, I think LSU's ceiling is higher than Notre Dame's. And Notre Dame's rated well ahead of LSU right now. I think LSU's ceiling, it's higher than several of these teams. I don't want anyone coming at me in the comment section unnecessarily. Iowa State's at 14, probably about as high as you're going to see them climb. They just need to keep winning. They don't need to worry about power ratings. They need to keep winning. Indiana's at 15. Now, Indiana, I think, has hit their ceiling in terms of power rating, but I don't know. No one knows with Indiana. All the data points are off the map right now, so who knows? Oh, by the way, reminder, we got a lot of people watching live. A lot of people are watching this video. A reminder, subscribe to the channel. This is free. It's college football exclusive. We do it 3 times a week, and we really appreciate it. We kind of built this thing organically. We don't spend a dime in marketing. We just rely on you. So if you haven't already, subscribe. It doesn't do anything. It's free. It just helps us. We continue. Kansas State at 16, virtually unchanged. Florida, unchanged. Yes, I need to touch on this. Immunity. Florida is 17th. I'm going to talk about them in a little while. You either get how a power rating differs from a ranking or you don't. If you look at this indistinguishable from rankings, Florida has no business at 17. Of course they don't. In a power rating, guys, there aren't a whole bunch of teams that would be favored over Florida right now. I told you last week. I got our guys at FanDuel last week to punch up Florida versus BYU on a neutral field. Right now, Florida would be favored if that game happened. BYU's undefeated. Jesse, what's Florida's record? They got 3 losses, right? 3 or 4 losses? Yeah, 3 losses. It doesn't matter. In the context of point spreads, it doesn't matter. So Florida's up there. USC, model will not quit on USC. They're 18. Here we go. Brigham Young, known now as BYU, proper respect. BYU is in the JP poll, and I hate to be the bearer of bad news. Model still didn't have you top 25. Now, it did have you 28, so that's the high point of the season, but it still didn't have you top 25, but no longer. As I told you the other night, we have executive ordered an exemption for Mormons and military, so I don't care what the model says about Army, Navy, Air Force, or BYU. So I'm putting them where I want them, and they're 19, still a little ways off what the AP has you at. I understand we have to be reasonable here. But Brigham Young has now cracked not only the JP poll, but the top 20 in the JP poll at 19. SMU's at 20, half a dozen turnovers, and still won the game against Duke. 21 through 25 sounds like this. Iowa, up 3 spots, quarterback change, keep an eye on it. Boise, Virginia Tech, Colorado is also in the JP poll for the first time since Dion has been there, or the first time, I don't know, since I ate solid food, it feels like. It's been a long time. And Arkansas is still there. Arkansas is still a really solid team right now, still sitting at 25. So some notes here. Missouri is the AP poll's number 25 this year. We got Missouri around 41, not even close. We have got a 17.6-point gap between number 1 and 25 right now. About 17.5 points separate Georgia and Arkansas. There is a 10-point gap between number 10 and 25. 10 points between, where's number 10? Between Bama and Arkansas. So we have accordion-type movement in this. The accordion expands and contracts, expands and contracts. Right now, this field is pretty contracted. I mean, that is really, really tightly packed together. You guys know, historically, especially recently, there's been a much bigger gap than that in the number 1 to even to number 10 range, much less 1 to 25.